Well, hello and welcome. If this is your first time with us, thank you for stopping by. You are listening to Choose to Endure, the show dedicated to the non-elite runners out there, where we share stories, interviews, gear, and training tips specific to the tail-end heroes of the ultra universe. My name's Richard Gleave. I've been running ultras now since 2017. I have taken on and finished numerous ultra distances all the way up through 220 miles, and I am unashamedly a member of the back of the pack, just like many of you out there. Well, today, I am super excited to introduce a guest who brings just a vast wealth of experience and insight to the show. Mr. Glenn McRill. He is a dedicated runner and director of coaching for the San Antonio RoadRunners with a strong background in marathons and road racing, but he's also spent countless hours as part of the marvelous McRill team, supporting, pacing, and crewing his wife Agatha through her many ultra running adventures. But this time, the roles were reversed. Glenn recently tackled his very first 100-miler at the Grasslands 100, and today we're going to hear all about his journey, from training to preparation to overcoming challenges on race day. So whether you're a road runner thinking about venturing into ultras, or you just love a good endurance story, you won't want to miss this conversation. Let's jump in.
Discover raw, inspiring stories from runners who've been right where you are. This is the Choose to Endure Ultra Running Podcast with your host.
He's English, not Australian.
Richard Gleave.
Well, Glenn, welcome to the podcast. Really excited to have you here. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your background in running and maybe how you got started?
Yes, certainly. I think, like most individuals, if you look far into my past, and when I started running, I started as a soccer player here in the United States, and I chose to be goalie, so I didn't have to run. That was
yeah,
my whole
fantastic.
goal is, if you were goalkeeper, you had to run probably about a mile during the warm ups and cool downs, and that was it. And I tried to avoid it. I joined the Army, went to West Point, and
oh wow,
and still did enjoy running, but I found out that I was pretty good at it. So in my my first class at West Point, my first run that I had to do, my first graded event, they broke the entire class of 1991 at West Point into three groups: the black, the gray, and the gold group.
Right.
The black group was the fastest, the gray group was the middle, and the gold group was was slower runners for that class during your first summer. Well, my name was the bottom name in the black group, so that meant I was the slowest of the fast, and I struggled the entire summer. The portions of the day that we had to run were the parts that I dreaded most, but
wow,
it gave me a background though in running, and I found out that it was a place that I could detach and clear my mind, and I began to enjoy it enough that I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out on my own and run while I was a kid at West Point. Fast forward a little bit, in the Army, there's a requirement to run. So you have to run 2 miles, which isn't very far, but it's 2 miles, and it's a graded event as part of the Army physical fitness test. So I made sure I was good for that. And I started to increase my distances a little bit. My first half marathon was not trained for. It was on a whim. It decided to do it.
Brave. Yeah.
Did okay. I pushed my youngest son in his stroller. I didn't realize that babies were not allowed on the strollers, were not allowed in the run. And I got many pats on the back as I pushed my baby, and we finished the half marathon. Following that, I attempted my first marathon in Kansas City. When the Army moved me there, my family had stayed here in San Antonio. I needed something to fill my time with, and so I decided to train for a marathon on my own. I did complete it. In my mind, it was a complete and utter train wreck. But it was one of those. It was the first time I think I really experienced in running the joy of completing something not as planned, but completing it in my mind, under God's strength, not underneath my own strength anymore. There's a bigger power inside me. There's a greater power than I know that I have, and my brain will tell me that I can't do it.
And Glenn, what is a train wreck for you? Just to give us some perspective here for our audience.
So a train wreck for me, and I will bring up the last marathon I ran. We can use the words a train wreck, or the wheels came off the bus is another way to say it.
Yes, love those.
So about a month ago, the Alamo Marathon here in San Antonio, I was going to use it as a training run for my 100-miler. And as I did, I thought, Agatha and I agreed that we would run it and enjoy it, would take pictures. This is a run to go out and enjoy.
My style of running right there.
It is. And we were both pretty excited that we were not going to rush this race. We were just going to enjoy it. And about mile 18, I started not to feel so well.
Uh-oh.
And I shared this with Agatha, and she shared some of her wisdom. She's had other friends who have gotten sick or who have purposely flown up, and that made them feel better. So I decided to try that.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and it did make me feel better. And a little bit later, I got sick again, and then I got sick a lot. Then I got sick a whole lot. And
oh my goodness.
And then Agatha talked me into getting out of the uncovered part of the Riverwalk, out of the sun, and get to an aid station where my blood pressure was very low, but the medics checked on me and said, "You're just dehydrated."
Okay.
And why I bring that up, and I want to bring that up to runners, I learned in that marathon that I planned just to complete. It was my slowest marathon ever, by far. I completed it, and I felt horrendous, and I knew that 2 weeks later I had a 100-miler to complete, and in my mind I was terrified.
Oh, I bet.
So when the wheels come off the bus for me, I lean back into my faith, and I say, okay, this isn't under my strength anymore. God, give me the strength, and I rely on that. And that's where I come from.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, well done for finishing the actual race. I mean, just from what you're describing, I'm like, there's no way you're finishing that. Well done. And obviously you're running around, you mentioned San Antonio there, and as part of the intro, we talked about you being the director of coaching, if I'm not mistaken, at the San Antonio RoadRunners. So tell us about, I think that's a really big club. There are a lot of running clubs around, but I think that's quite a big one. So, you know, what is the San Antonio RoadRunners all about, and kind of what is your role? And I think they have an off-road or a trail group as well, if I'm not mistaken.
You're exactly right, Richard. So the San Antonio RoadRunners we have several running groups here within San Antonio, both on-road and off-road. And the San Antonio RoadRunners, we do have the largest group of runners. There's approximately 1,600 runners that are signed up as part of the San Antonio RoadRunners, and it's all different ages.
Yeah.
For coaching, I'm there to make sure the coaches are properly prepared. All of our coaches are CPR trained, first aid trained. So if something does happen during any of our training events or our races, our coaches can step in immediately to render first aid to those runners needing it. And it doesn't happen often, but I've been out there before where one of our runners actually had a heart attack, and we were prepared. As our coaches were moving towards him, because another runner called, fortunately some other runners out there on the path that day were nurses and started giving him CPR. And by the time we got there as coaches to relieve them, the EMS had showed up, and the runner's fine. And he's actually rejoined us again. But the point being is, as director of coaching, we're there to make sure the coaches try to continue their education within running. We're all Roadrunner Clubs of America certified, but that's a one-time class. How do we continue to grow in our education? And some coaches do it on their own, and other coaches need some assistance. So that's my job as director of coaches, is to help those coaches see those opportunities. As an example, I also coach the kids group, which I love to death. The 7 to 12-year-olds are phenomenal, and their spirit is not to give up. Of course, they're kids, so they have grumpy days, but the kids are wonderful as well. So we have all age groups in San Antonio RoadRunners. And like you said, the off-road runners, another phenomenal group of people. At one point, I was only a road runner when I moved to San Antonio, and I focused on just on the road, because who would want to go somewhere where there's roots and rocks and trip? And one season I decided to try it, and sure, as we've all experienced on off-road running, it's in that nice smooth area with a pebble that's probably about the size of my thumb. And you catch your toe on that and go down and
that's the one that's going to get you.
yeah, always.
You can avoid all the big rocks, all the roots. You feel like you've done an awesome job, and then you get that one tiny little one, and that's the one that sends you down.
But I liked trail running. I still went back to road running.
Yeah.
And then I met Agatha, and you've met Agatha as well. She's just a force unto herself, and she convinced me, along with the phenomenal food that you get when you're ultra running and running off road. Instead of a goo packet, and you know this, instead of a goo packet and maybe a green banana, you get meals.
Yeah.
And I think as a road runner, you can't fathom what you mean. You get to eat real food. Well, will you run? No, will you stop and have some real food, or like yourself, you have a beer during a race? That's phenomenal. That's beautiful.
Have you been back to the Roadrunner side? Like, do you cross over the Roadrunner Trail Runner side? Have you been back there and talked to them about this kind of stuff? And like, what is the reaction, if so?
Yeah, originally I didn't think I would. I thought, I'll come over here for a little. I'll come over here for a season to the trail running side, and crewing some races and pacing some races, and the fact that at Moab, pacing Agatha, that point where she was taking a rest, and you and Vicky and some of our friends were crewing her, and I got pierogies as a pacer. That I'm Polish, so when you get your soul food as a pacer, it locked me in and saying, this is your people. These people, you liked them already, so that really it helped me swing. I think will I go back to road? Yeah, I'll run road, 'cause there's a couple marathons I want to run, but nothing.
Yeah,
I don't like 5Ks because they're hard. They're hard.
You've got to go fast distance all the time. Yeah, and you have to feel bad the entire race. Yes, it's terrible.
And I want to win it, so that's just how it is.
Well, I love that you have that competitive spirit. Certainly, for Agatha, she definitely got that competitive spirit, and you've had plenty of experience supporting her at her ultras. You've seen her go through those highs and those lows during really a variety of events. Having seen that, Glenn, what then made you decide, you know what, I'm going to take on my own 100-miler?
Well, the 100-miler was an opportunity for me to test myself. I knew I could run. I mean, I've only done a couple 50Ks. I've only done 2 50Ks, one 50-miler, one 100K that I had. It was a jackalope jam that I had 24 hours to do. So I pushed myself, but not over the top push myself. But was it hard? It was difficult. It's 100K.
Yeah.
And I decided I needed to push myself a little bit further and take a step out in faith and say, let's do this. Agatha had already signed up for it. And I asked her, I said, do you need me to crew you or can I join you? And she got pretty excited. She said, well, definitely let's give this a shot, and let's see if we both can finish the 100-miler. And we went out there together, and it definitely, I was terrified when I started. That's an understatement, because it was scary. 100 miles was a long way.
I bet. Now, you guys went up to the Grasslands 100 for your first attempt. Can you kind of give folks out there listening who might not have heard of that race a little bit of the background of the race? Like, where is it? What's the kind of terrain that you're running in up there? Is it a big race, small race? What is the Grasslands 100?
So the Grassland 100 is it's a group of racing. There's a 100, there's a 50-miler, and the 100 and the 50-miler are both released at the same time. There's a marathon. There's a 15K. I believe I got them all. However, it's on different loops, and it's a Texas State Park that is northwest of Fort Worth. And
Okay.
we believed that it was going to be primarily flat. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hills up there, but we were pretty wrong about that. It had some good elevation gain and drop, and there were some of the routes out there we were surprised when we ran them, just saying, well, there are flat portions of this, and there's a portion. One of the routes had a herd of cows that the race director warned us about. So anyway, Grasslands 100, you have to run. There's 4 different loops from a 9-mile to a 15-mile are the different lengths.
Right.
And there's aid stations every 6 miles, I think, is the largest gap you run without an aid station for water or fuel, which is nice. And one of the aid stations was just water, but the trails were phenomenally marked. I have nothing but kudos to give the race director on the trails being marked. During the day, I had no doubt which way I was going. At night, as I fueled during the route and stuff like that, 1 or 2 times, as I'm sure you've done, I looked around, I saw no more markers. I backtracked a quarter mile, and I said, look, there's some reflectors there. And the sign I should have kicked that said, not this way.
Ah, that's a dead giveaway. Yeah.
I saw that as well.
Brilliant. So it sounds like a really cool race. Was it kind of rooty up there, would you say, or were the trails pretty smooth, or even technical, rocky? What was the trail situation like, or did it vary based on the loop you were doing?
It did vary on the loop. It wasn't very technical. There were some parts that were single track. There were some parts that were loose sand, like beach sand, which we were both quite surprised. It was maybe only like a quarter half mile of one of the loops, but a quarter half mile that I didn't want to deal with, and I was looking for any edge of the path that might offer me some more traction.
Yes.
Fortunately, we both wore gaiters, which I almost didn't wear. And after the fact, I said, boy, I'm glad that I listened to your recommendation, Agatha, and from a while ago, and wear gaiters to all the races just in case.
Just in case. They're minimal weight and just so useful for a bunch of things.
Oh, well, exactly. And it was... There was all different, like I said, from cow pastures that you ran through, and you could see the cows had been there before. And during the night, for sure, cows do blend into the when they're eating quietly and you're running through the middle of the herd. They can startle you quite a bit when they're right on the trail.
Uh-oh.
I got kind of floored as the cow was probably about 10 feet in front of me, and when it finally moved. So,
brilliant. So, I mean, we talked about your experience, shall we say, at the Alamo Marathon there. But outside of that, how was your training? How did you go about preparing for this 100-miler that I have to think is pretty daunting when you're looking at it based on your history?
You're right about that. It was daunting, and in the grand scheme of things, would I have trained differently? I would have trained a lot better than I could train. And where I'm going with that is work got in the way.
Yeah.
Things happened with the presidential election. Following that, I've worked a lot of hours at work. So a lot of those times I wanted to do training runs, I wasn't able to. So I really my longest run had been that marathon to train for the 100-miler, short of, I did a 50-miler probably about 8 months ago, but that's a long way back. And my marathon training had always taught me you need to continue to build up to this distance. And that's what in my mind was playing. But at the same time, I played in my mind what I teach my kids in the kids running group is your biggest competition out there isn't the other runner, and it's not your legs, and it's not your arms. As long as you don't get injured, your biggest competition is your mind. Your mind's going to want to tell you to quit. It's going to want to have you stay at that aid station just a little bit longer. It's going to want to stop you. And I share that with the kids, and they get it. And I dwelt on that as I was out there doing the 100-miler of, I don't think I'm prepared for this. I can't allow myself to quit. And fortunately, I had a phenomenal pacer for 55 miles of it. Agatha ran the first 55 miles of it, and until her stomach didn't feel well with me, and we went back and forth, and we used a lot of the experiences of crewing other runners of getting out of the aid stations
Yeah.
quickly, not sitting down if we could help it. And our longest break, we took an hour to change clothes as it got dark and to grab dinner real quick. And that was our longest break. And every time we quickly pushed through the aid stations. And I think that helped us out a whole lot. We really created a nice cushion on the front side. So the training wasn't what I would recommend to any runner if I was coaching them.
Well, I think it's a good lesson, though. I mean, it doesn't always go, training that is, the way you want it to go or think you need it to go. And yet, depending on what your goal is for the race, you can still finish these races. It is, as they say, 90% mental and 10% is in your mind. It really is very, very mental, this running. So, depending on your goals, you can still make these big races on fairly minimal training. I mean, granted, more training usually is a better experience, but you can still do these things. And talking of experience, yourself and Agatha, you guys have done and been through so many ultras together. Did your experience having crewed and paced Agatha on ultras, did that help you, do you think?
I definitely do. So I'd recommend it to, and I have recommended it to many of our trail runners in San Antonio RoadRunners, as well as other ultra runners as they're out there. Take that opportunity when you get that to crew somebody else and to see them when they're in that place where they're struggling. When you're there, you understand, it helps you pull through that struggle. You see that they could do it. You could reflect back on it. You watch those runners that you saw get back out there again quickly so their muscles didn't get cold and they didn't start to get that chill. There's so much you can learn from the other runners around you, and as well as the runners that are doing the race with you. You talk with them, you draw off their strength, and it's wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful to see how the whole group of people at Grasslands 100, all the 100-mile runners were out there encouraging each other to finish. So it's the support structure's out there, and it's not just the support structure you bring from home. And that's another thing I love about the ultra community. The elites, I watched them reach back down to the back of the packers.
Yeah.
Well, something else I will say, and this isn't just a plug for you and I talked about this. Your podcast has a wealth of information, 100% that I borrowed from. I ran with Path Project's gear.
Oh,
why?
Brilliant.
Because I tried it after you interviewed that group, and I tried some of their stuff, and it worked great for me. And it's my go-to gear. It just I'd heard of them, but I wouldn't have tried them until I heard about that. So your podcast and other podcasts draw me to the wisdom of others of, hey, try this. And I'm willing to take anything from any runner.
Yeah. I love the way that everybody's out to help everybody else get to the finish, or at least in our space. I get that there are a few elites that are out there winning races, and that's really awesome too. Don't get me wrong. But for the majority of us, I would say we're out here trying to overcome and just trying to get to our own finish, whatever that looks like. So I love that. I did a race last year, and midway through the race, I was with another chap, and we were on our way out. It was an out and back race. We were on our way out, and the leader was coming back, and the leader, seeing us on the other side of the road, literally stopped, crossed the road, and came and stood and talked to us, asking how we were doing and, how was our day going on this race, mid-race. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, get back over there and go to the finish. But he took it. He didn't have to. We didn't flag him over. He just decided by himself he was going to come over. Aaron Isles, if you're listening by any chance, Aaron, just fantastic guy. Yeah, he just came over and talked to us. Now, what other sport, first of all, are you running the same course at the same time or participating at the same time as the elite folks? Everybody's on that course all together. And then where else would those folks kind of come and cheer you on and ask how you're doing as part of the run? So I think you're right. The community aspect of it for me is just amazing. And whether you're fast or slow or in between, it doesn't matter. Everybody's out to help each other, and I think that's terrific.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Now, for the race itself, Glenn, were there any really challenging moments for you aside from dodging cows on the trail itself? And was there ever a point where, having gotten into this, maybe after Agatha had sort of stopped around 55 miles or so, did you ever seriously doubt finishing?
I didn't. I don't know if I doubted finishing. No, was it a challenge once it was right as it's getting dark, and Agatha and I went out, and she at that point she turned around 2.5 miles out from the main aid station. She said, "We aren't going to make cutoff if I stay with you." And and I looked at her, and I as I shared with her, I said, "As your husband, if you need me to go back, you're far more important than a belt buckle. Let's go back." And she says, "No, I need you to go on." She said, "I'll be fine. I'll get back there." So she turned around and went back, and I did the next 45 miles myself, and it wasn't time to check in on a lot of stuff. And I truthfully didn't. I didn't find anybody in the dark until probably, I don't know, maybe 4 a.m. or so. I finally linked up with some other runners that I knew, and they left out in front of me, and I caught up to them. And one of the gentlemen was speed walking, and the other two runners, I recognized both of them. I'd seen them, and the gentleman that was speed walking, we had seen at a different race, so I knew him, Ahmed, and I thought, okay, they know what's going on. This speed walking is going to get us to the cutoff, to the next cutoff. And about 3.4 miles out from the turnaround, or the finish line where you check your time check, he looked at his watch. He says, "We're not going to make cutoff. What are we doing?"
Oh no!
And the woman and the other man took off at like probably a 10:30 or 11-minute pace, and I didn't have that left in me.
Oh no!
I ran as fast as I could, as Ahmed did what trail runners do. So I got to take a break here real quick. He didn't. Well, he did step out into the tree line real quick.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I got to run." Well, we all made that cutoff. How I don't, oh, well, I do know. We ran like 11-minute miles, and that was the only time in the 100 miles that I caught my toe on that little rock, and I went out hard on my face, and I still have a blood blister on my thumb from it that hasn't gone away yet. I wiped out completely. One of the other runners came back to check on me. I got back up. Like I said, we finished it, and then we made the cutoff. And once we made the cutoff for the last loop, it was 9 miles, and we had like 2 hours and 45 minutes to do it. I'm like, well, we can walk it now. Like we are within striking distance. I said, I'm not gonna walk it because I don't want to put myself in a bad position, but it was quite nice. So I guess I'd answer that I was concerned when he looked at his watch, because I was thinking the whole time, maybe my math is just off.
Yeah.
And then we took off at a much faster pace than probably the 17-minute mile that we were walking in his speed walk. We took off, like I said, 11-minute mile so we cut 18 minutes off to make sure we made that cutoff, and we had about 5 minutes in our pocket to spare.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was to go that far. To go 91 miles and miss cutoff would not have been a happy day.
Oh, that would have really stuck with me for a long time, I think, if that had happened. So I totally feel you going for that one. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, so having worked your way through, well, let me ask this first. Which parts of the race did you struggle most with? Because usually it's like mile 30 and then maybe mile 70 or so. And then you went through the night, I think well, maybe not for the first time, but certainly for the first time by yourself, potentially.
Yeah. So we'd done the whole route during the day, but like you said, so it's the first time by myself, and the route that I'd liked during the day, I really didn't like at night, because I guess there were hills during the day and I was fresh. So at night, I did not like those hills at night. There's lots of uphills followed by pretty good downhills following the uphills. And they're probably like quarter-mile downhill runs. And at night, those aren't fun either.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're scary at night. I mean, all I could keep thinking is, I'm going to fall. I'm out here by myself. And yeah, I'll get back up and run again. But I really don't want to fall and go down hard. It didn't happen. I got lost. I mean, a little bit. And one time I found myself, there were little breaks off the main trail. And they were probably only like 10 or 12 feet in. And it looked like, and I called them donkey brakes, like the air brake things that the trucks go up. I called them donkey brakes because they were so small you could fit like 2 donkeys in it. And Agatha and I joked about that. And I found myself like, I kind of shook my head for a second, like, where am I at? And I was in one of the donkey brakes off the trail. I don't know how I got in there. I mean, I wasn't 10 feet off the trail. I have no earthly memory how I got in there at that time. It was probably 3 or 4 in the morning by myself.
Goodness.
And it was a challenge, but it was. There were times at night when I questioned my sanity and what I was doing, and at no time did I see any gorillas off the path, but we joked about that. No shipwrecks either.
Yeah, absolutely. Those hallucinations, man, they're all the rage these days, I guess.
So I hear, but I did, yeah. It got a little bit questionable right before sunrise, but fortunately, Agatha, when she did stop, it was pretty chilly out, and she wrapped up. We didn't bring sleeping bags because we didn't plan on stopping.
Right.
So she's wrapped up in a blanket out of the truck and just tacoed herself up. And when I'd come in, she goes, "You got to hear out of the inside of the big burrito. Is that you?" And she'd sit up. "What do you need?" And she'd, "Okay, you're not going to stay here long." And she'd push me back out again, which is beautiful.
So having done your first 100-miler, like what surprised you most about it, would you say?
What surprised me most, the ability when you have to in nature to use nature to go relieve yourself. I did.
Yeah.
I fortunately, from crewing Agatha a while back, I had some emergency stuff for a trash bag and some wet wipes. I just happened to have them in my pack, and that worked wonderfully. I wasn't anywhere near a portalet, and I wasn't going to go another 10 feet, but that just, I didn't know I had that in me, but at that point, the race was going to happen. I needed to take another step and take one more step in my new learning and challenges. And it worked. And Agatha chuckles. She goes, "Well, everybody else probably did that too. You just don't know that."
Yes. It's I think it's a rite of passage. It's easier at night when when you can turn your headlight off and nobody can see you back there in the bush or in the trees.
Yes.
But
exactly.
But yes, it's definitely, I would say probably everybody's done some variety of that. You talked about Agatha a little bit and her helping you out. How did it feel then to have the roles reversed this time? How was Agatha crewing you? What was that experience like?
Truthfully, I've had full confidence in her because she had gone through the races. Even if she hadn't known what she was doing, I finally understood the concept of, she offered me some items of food when I came in, and I finally understood where she was at in the past, where I didn't want to make the choices. I wanted her to push something, and she picked up on that pretty quick and said, just take this, and you're going to take it with you because you've been eating this and it's been staying down, and are you having trouble eating this?
Nice. Okay.
And so she cued off on that pretty quick, which was nice to have a crew that understood where I was at that moment. Yeah,
minimize the decisions that you have to make.
Exactly. And I think you were with me when we saw that out at Moab, when the one gentleman they had choices for medals, and he didn't want to pick his medal because that was another choice at that point that he was past.
Yeah.
That just give me something and make me not think. It was nice to finally join the rest of you, getting a little bit closer to folks like you that I aspire to be one day.
Old and slow, Glenn. Is that what we're saying?
As a young man, I thought I needed to come in first. As I age and get wisdom, I realize that I need to finish. And there's nothing with the real race that I see out there for myself is finding another runner that needs that push, or to talk, or to vent, or just to complain. And that's okay. Hey, I hurt, or this is going on in my life, as we all experience on the longer runs.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get through this together. We're We're going to make it back to we're going to make it to the next aid station, and we're going to push on. And that's a really beautiful thing that the longer the ultra runs allow us to do.
Absolutely. And did you have, aside from the leftover TP situation, were there any particular gear choices or nutritional choices, other nutritional choices that you made that worked well for you on this race?
Yeah, definitely. I will say the gear choices. I mean, I just have an Nathan vest, and I would probably, it worked for me because I knew where everything was at, which was nice. For the Path Project stuff, I had a jacket with pockets, and I love the Path Project shorts that have pockets.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Yeah, I can put stuff in my pockets, and I don't have to think about where I'm going to grab that snack.
Yeah.
Bobo bars, peanut butter and jelly, phenomenal.
Do you know, I have recently come across these Bobo bars. It happened at Swami Shuffle. One of the ladies I was running with, Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth. She had, well, her husband crewing, had these Bobo bars. They had the strawberry ones and then the peanut butter and grape, I think it was. But I had never seen these before. And so they were like, here, try one. So I'm hooked on those things. I'm right there with you on the Bobo bandwagon, if that's a thing. I don't know. I'm going to buy a whole box of them and take them on the next one. They were great.
The McRills have a box currently in our pantry. I also learned the value that I've been told so many times by other runners, the taking the salt tablets in a pattern or routine so you don't get behind. I can't recall any leg aches or any pains that I've had on much shorter runs for lack of salt. Worst things were I let my nutrition get a little bit low and I got heavy legs.
Yeah.
And as soon as I clicked that boba bar or a cup of ramen that was packed with carbs, and it clicked me over the top. I did learn that cold pizza is not my answer ever on a race. My mouth and throat will not swallow cold pizza no matter how bad I want the pizza.
Oh, man, you're totally missing out. Totally missing out on some cold pizza. It's like the best thing. But I get it. It's hard to swallow. I don't know that nobody ever told me that before doing ultras, but it's really difficult to swallow food at some point. It just, your throat doesn't want to do it, which I was not at all ready for when it happened to me. Now I know, but so, yeah, that was a weird one, finding that out for sure. So do you think there was anything that you would have done differently in your prep or race strategy if you were going to do this again or for another race or for this race specifically again? For anybody else considering doing this race, what kind of advice might you give them?
My advice that I'd give them, if somebody were attempting their first 100-miler, the fact that I had somebody, Agatha, who I could look to as an experienced runner, if you can have somebody that's out there with you, crewing or pacing you, that knows you,
right?
That knows your strengths and weaknesses. And fortunately for Agatha and I, we complement each other. So when I have strength, it's usually about the time she's fading. So for us running as for the first 55 miles as a couple, it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
It's scary when all of a sudden the trapeze artist net goes away and you're only going to see the net every 6 or 50, well, I guess 9 or 15 miles or somewhere in between, or 12. It gets real scary, but there's a lot that can be learned from the other runners, though. I mean, I looked at some of the other setups they had. We had a mat with our chairs on it, and we each had a box for food, and that was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, it didn't rain. If it rained, we would have been a lot more uncomfortable. Changing clothes before dark is huge. Having just a dry pair of clothes made me feel like I just started the race again.
Yes. Great tip, that one. Definitely change before dark. Before it gets dark. Like while you can see what you're doing, change clothes.
Thank you.
Yes.
100%. And that's what we did. And that was, we were going to wait another loop to do that, a shorter loop. And whether it was God's purpose or whatever, I had a blister, and I said, no, I need to change my socks right now because there's some sand in my socks. I said, I need to check the blister out. And we taped the blister, and it was fine. And I got other blisters when I was out there by myself, but they were all recoverable. There was so much I learned. And I truthfully, I talked to Agatha about it. I need to write it down so I don't repeat it. There's a lot she'll help me remember. And there's a lot that we share, like a hanging pack that we hang in a tree or we hang on something that you can see all your medicine on one side and the other side has first aid. And you can see it on little plastic clear packets. It's for women's necklaces or something like that. But it's 3 feet long and it's wonderful. You can see everything at once and you just hang it in a tree.
Oh, wow.
It's phenomenal that if you can get in and out of an aid station. I saw the truth of that. Just being able not to spend my time there. Because did I want to sit? I certainly wanted to sit in that chair. It was wonderful. And studying, of course, is always hard. So that was the biggest lesson learned is minimize your time on aid stations, I guess, and don't skip any food and pay attention. Make sure you're eating and taking the salt.
Yeah, I think most of the time
and hydrating.
Yeah, I was going to say most of the time it comes down to hydration and food, and then you're right. There is so much time you can lose at an aid station just faffing around, sitting around. You get to chatting with people. Maybe there's a fire there that you're sat by, especially overnight, and you're like, oh, this feels pretty good right here, you know? Suddenly an hour and a half's gone by, and you're like, oh, no, I got to get out and I got to actually keep going here at some point. So, yeah, so much time you can lose. But I think maybe not so much in 100-miler because I think most people can go through one night and sort of come out on the other side. But, yeah, food, hydration, sleep in longer races, and then minimize as much as you can that aid station time. Kind of know what you're doing going in. Like have a plan as you're approaching that aid station and know what you need. Get in and get out as quick as you can. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Are there more ultras, Glenn, in your future? You know, are you going for 100 or longer, or are you feeling the pull now back to road racing, do you think?
Well, and I'm not feeling the pull back to road racing so much. Will I do more road marathons? I definitely will. One of my birthday presents this year is I want to run the Marine Corps Marathon, just because I've never run it.
Yeah.
And I've heard it's a terrifically run race. And will I go back to Houston to run the marathon? Yeah, because Houston does their marathons well. Austin does most of their races very well. So I'll run more road races. But is there a 125-miler in my future? Yep. And I plan at some point I'll be picking your brain some more and asking you for some recommendations, as well as other runners. And just, will I get to the 200? I think I will. Just because we're all created to push ourselves. And if we just sit where we sit, that we're not going to get any farther. So God created us all to push ourselves. And that's what I plan to do.
Well, goodness me, I applaud your bravery, having seen a few of us go through 200 miles. To put yourself in that situation is pretty daunting, standing on the start line of one of those races. So definitely applaud the effort to get there at some point. I think you'll like it. It's a life-changing thing when you go through it. But yeah, fantastic. I love it.
I appreciate just the perspectives you get on this show. Why? Because the people that are the back of the packers, and on a road race, I wasn't. On a trail race, I most definitely am, and I'm okay with that's where I'm at on a trail race. Might I get faster? I might.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with that. I like the back of the pack group. I really do. They're very personable.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I love about the back of the pack group is everybody's cheering for each other, as we've talked about. But if you find you can go faster or you want to go faster, everybody's all in for that for you. Like, hey, how do we help you go faster? Nobody feels like it's a competition, or I'm not going to give you some advice because I don't want you to go faster than me. I just love that. We talked about that a little bit, but I think it's a terrific place to be, and realistically, back of the pack folks, we're out there in some cases twice as long as the elites that are finishing. So who are the real endurance athletes? That's what I will tell you. We have to think about food and nutrition and sleep and all that for twice as long as the people at the front. So it's double the double the stress and double the anxiety and no short amount of physical effort. So that's why I love doing this stuff for Back of the Packers, because all those people chose to do that. They made a choice to go out there knowing that they were going to have to put themselves in that position and deal with all of those challenges for an extended period, whether that's a 50-miler, 100-miler, 200-miler, whatever. Every single person made that choice knowing who and where they were from a physical standpoint. And I absolutely tip my hat to every person that goes out there and stands on the start line of these things, choosing to endure. The name of the podcast, this is why, right? Because I just think that choice in the society we live in, where everything is about ease and convenience, where you can order your lunch on an app and it gets delivered to your door. Do something difficult. Learn something about yourself. Challenge yourself a bit. I love that aspect of it. Now, Glenn, one of the things we like to do on the show, as you may know if you've been listening to an episode or two, is to invite guests to choose a song to add to the free Choose to Endure Spotify playlist. Typically, it's something family-friendly, something that might lift you up, motivate, or just keep you moving while you're out on the trail. Did you have a song that you would like to add to the playlist, either from the Grasslands 100 that got you moving, or just in general, a song that kind of resonates with you a little bit?
Well, and the song that I'm picking is actually both.
Awesome.
So I didn't wear music the entire Grasslands 100, either talking to people or whatever. I watched one individual singing to himself because his phone had died. However, I went through an aid station and they had my favorite song by Elton John, "I'm Still Standing."
Oh, brilliant.
It inspires me when I hear it. Every time my daughter, Aurora, her and Agatha and I were marshaling a race a couple weeks ago, the Prickly Pear 50K, and they were out there singing it. And it seems to inspire a lot of runners. It's a quick beat, and it's Elton John. I don't know that he knows how to do a bad song.
Well, no, for sure. I mean, everyone loves some Elton John, don't they? And what a great message as part of an ultra run as well. Like, I'm still standing. I'm still here, right? The race hasn't beat me yet. I love that messaging, despite the fact that it's a very, what do they call it? Toe tapper, you know? You can definitely tap your feet to that song. But I love the messaging behind that too. Great choice. We'll definitely get that added so that others can enjoy the song just as much as you and I definitely do. Fantastic. Well, as we look to wrap up this episode, if I don't trip over my own little pebble there, Glenn, I think your story is a terrific reminder that, you know, stepping up from marathons to 100-miler, road racing to trail, it's as much about mindset as it is about mileage. Your ability to adopt and adapt your training, embrace those new challenges, and then rely on your fantastic wife as your support crew and go through the night unsupported for the first time. I think that just shows how achievable that leap can be. So if you're listening and you are a road runner considering running your first ultra, I think Glenn has some experiences and some key lessons that you can take with you. Glenn, if there are folks out there wanting to learn more about the San Antonio RoadRunners or the off-road trail team, where would they go to do that?
So if they just go ahead and Google San Antonio RoadRunners, the page will pop up.
Okay, cool.
Not to be confused with the University of San Antonio RoadRunners, which chose the same mascot.
Oh, who came first?
The San Antonio RoadRunners. Yeah. It'll pop up. And what it does, if you shoot a question a coaching question, it'll go to my mailbox. However, it's a great group of folks, very encouraging. On those days you don't feel like running, they'll be out there for you. On the days you do, some days you'll be the encourager, and some days you'll be the encouragee, which is the beautiful thing that I see about running. And the bottom line is we all get better and more healthy when we're out there and we're taking this opportunity to get out on the roads or the trails and run.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, where do the roadrunners run? Is there a location that the trail runners go and the actual road running group? Do they kind of base themselves in certain areas?
So they base themselves, the roadrunners meet in different areas all around San Antonio. And then there's meetups. If you go to the San Antonio RoadRunner page, there's meetups that are free. You don't have to sign up for the group. You can just meet other runners out there, and that gives you some safety.
All right, cool.
Yeah, the off-road runners, a lot of times we do run within San Antonio, but a lot of times we like to get outside of San Antonio and hit some of those Texas state parks, which are beautiful.
Oh, out there in Bandera.
Exactly.
That is a really beautiful but very challenging place to try to run/hike. If you've ever tried to go and run that race, the Bandera 100K is held out there, and boy, that is some challenging terrain. Make sure you put something over your legs for those cacti out there. Love it. Brilliant. So, folks, if you're browsing the internet, don't forget to subscribe to the show here, too, while you're looking for the San Antonio RoadRunner link. That way, you'll get notified each time a new episode drops. And if you're enjoying what you hear, definitely consider following, sharing, and leave a review. That would mean the world to me. Your support helps grow the podcast, connects more runners to this amazing ultra community that we've been talking about here with Glenn, and spreads the word to those who could benefit from the information that we share with fantastic guests right here on the show. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Choose to Endure, or you can visit us anytime at choosetoendure.com. I would love to hear from you, whether that is to say hello, suggest a topic, or share your story. You can email me directly if you'd like at info@choosetoendure.com. I absolutely adore interacting with listeners just like you. It's one of my favorite parts of doing the show, so definitely don't be shy about reaching out and saying hello. And so with that, I will say until next time, run long, run strong, go check out Glenn and the San Antonio RoadRunners, and keep choosing to endure.